Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
Oh yeah, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny and I'm here with Kaleidoscope Katrina. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got Jiggly Joel. Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Wow. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the next chapter in the Insidious franchise. Gearing up for chapter 5 coming soon.
Yep.
So we've done the first 2, so now it's time for Insidious chapter 3. Joel, who is a part of it?
All right. So this one stars Lynn Shay.
Yeah,
First time mentioning this one right here. And I did mention a little bit more than I normally do, just because I don't mention her like hardly ever in movies. So she was in the 2020 Grudge movie.
Yeah, she was.
Oh, okay.
She was in the Ouija and Ouija Origin of Evil movies, which Origin of Evil was directed by Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
One of the best directors out there right now. She was in, I had to mention this one. This is just too classic. She was in Snakes on a Plane.
Oh!
that fits. Yeah. I could see her in
that. And she was in 2001 Maniacs with Robert Englund himself. Yeah. And she was most recently in a video game called The Quarry, which I think came out in last year. Yeah. I've seen some gameplay of that. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, our son was playing that.
Nice. Yeah, it's actually actual actors and everything in that video game too. And then we got Dermot Mulroney, which in the 3 years we've had this podcast, we've already mentioned him twice this year alone.
Yeah.
For Scream 6 and this one. And
so he's the dad?
Yeah.
Okay. He looked so familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you just saw him like 2 months ago in another movie. He was in The Grey, which is a Liam Neeson wolf attack movie. He was in Zodiac. And he was in Young Guns, which is a Western with Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen, and Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Back in like the 80s.
And I heard he was in Scream.
Scream 6, yeah.
Yeah, he may or may not have been in Scream 6. And then we got Stephanie Scott, who plays Quinn, which is his daughter, which is his daughter's name in Scream 6 as well. So that's
yeah. Nice.
Little connection there with a name that's not very like known. Quinn's not a very like popular name. So yeah. She was in The Last Thing Mary Saw, which is a horror movie.
That's a newer one.
Yeah. Like
I think it came out last year. Yeah.
Yeah. And Girl in the Basement.
Oh, okay.
Which is also like 2 years old, I'm pretty sure, as well. And she was in Beethoven's Big Break. And she was in Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, nice. Who was she in Wreck-It Ralph?
I think she was, I don't think she was like a main character. I just saw her on there and I was like, oh, she's voiced in Wreck-It Ralph. So I'd mention that one.
Okay, cool.
And this was written and directed by Lee Winnell, the only movie of the Insidious movies that he's directed. He wrote. I've already mentioned all these movies because he really hasn't done a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I just mentioned Saw 1 through 3, Insidious 1 through 5, the entire franchise, and The Invisible Man is what he wrote. Yeah. And then directed. He directed even less than what he's written. A movie called Upgrade, which is a sci-fi like action movie, which we probably won't, because it's not horror, probably won't mention or review on this podcast. The Invisible Man, and an upcoming movie called The Green Hornet and Kato, which is a superhero movie. So
sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right, so this one is a prequel set before the haunting of the Lambert family that reveals how gifted psychic Elise Rainier reluctantly agrees to use her ability to contact the dead in order to help a teenage girl who has been targeted by a dangerous supernatural entity.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so for its rating.
Oh, yeah, let's see what others have rated this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, if you remember, Insidious, the first Insidious, got a pretty good ratings per horror movies. Right. And then Insidious 2 went way down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Insidious 3 on IMDb.
Yes.
We've got a 6.1.
6.1. Okay.
Still in the sixes, so that's good.
So still in the sixes, yep. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, you guys are gonna laugh every time I say it. We've got, for the tomato meter, we've got 57%.
See, so you can say tomato.
Yeah.
Just depends on what other words are surrounding.
It's because I'm reading it. So like tomato meter. I'm trying because you guys are laughing at me. So for Rotten
57?
Tomatoes, we've got the tomato meter says 57%.
Okay.
Which is way more than Insidious 2.
Is it?
Yeah.
That was a 33.
Was at 38. Oh, 33.
It was in the 30s.
So yeah, it was in the 30s.
Okay, I forgot it was that low.
That's right.
And then the audience score is 51%.
Okay. I think that was like 52 for Insidious 2, if I'm not mistaken.
If you're not mistaken.
I could very well be very mistaken. But I don't know.
Yeah, it was around then. Yeah, it was a big dip in Rotten Tomatoes from like the critic score and the audience score. But wow, okay, they really brought it up in that critic score. Critics like this one a lot more.
So now I'm very curious to hear.
It was 57 for Insidious 2.
For audience. But the tomato meter was 38.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, so I'm very curious now to hear your guys' perspective of your feeling between the second one and the third one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dig in.
Yeah, let's do it. So, Katrina, let's start with you.
Okay.
What your overall thoughts on this one?
Okay, overall thoughts on this one. So, I was expecting for this to start off with the ending of the last one. Mm-hmm. Because like we had talked about in our last episode, the last Insidious Chapter 2 ends with a new family.
Yeah.
And so I thought that it was going to be something like that.
Yeah. Then
when it went back and Elise was young and she was like full on in the movie, I was actually really excited, really happy to see like her beginning.
Yeah.
And I loved how they added the characters in, how we got to see how the two guys started, and we got to see her relationship with Carl and how Carl was the one who really kept her going.
Yeah.
Got her back into feeling confident enough to continue her mission.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Loved the story and the characters. I really liked these, both the daughter and the dad. And I really liked the acting. I liked, so I was all for this one.
Yeah.
My overall is
positive.
I really liked this one. Yeah.
All right. Joel, how about you?
So I want to go back to like that tomato meter score or whatever. The fact that the second one took such a plunge and then it got brought up kind of makes it seem like what I was talking about with Insidious Chapter 2, how maybe some of those critics that hated the second one never saw the first one, and so because they were kind of lost. That's really the only thing that I can think of that it took that big of a plunge. And then this movie was, because this is a standalone movie. You don't have to see part 1 or 2 to watch this movie.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So I really like that. And I'm gonna say, because of that, I mean, this movie to me might be slightly better than Chapter 2.
Yeah.
It's
definitely because of that different. For you.
Yeah,
that was your biggest.
that was my big thing with Chapter 2.
Yeah,
I have another reason why I might say the same thing.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
I kind of was thinking I was going to be on my own with it being better than Chapter 2, but because I do like the continuation with the family from the first movie in Chapter 2, but we got a whole new cast except for Elise and the two guys, which I did think they did a really good job. I liked the girl as an actress. Like she seems, I liked her opening. She seemed like really sweet and just like really wanting to know what happened to her mom and just like wanting to communicate with her mom and everything. And there was a kind of an emotional moment with Elise, and when she went into the further and saw her dead husband, who she thought was her dead husband, just turned out to be a demon. But she didn't know that at first, and so that was a really sweet moment they had there with that. Until he wanted her to kill herself. I was like, okay, you're a little too far there.
She's like, what was his name? Jack. She's like, my Jack would never ask me to do something.
I loved that. It was like, there were a few times with Elise that it was like she got empowered, and she remembered, oh, I have this. Like one of the times it was Carl, where she thought back to her conversation, and Carl was like, "You're alive." And so she was able to fight the woman off, and then with that scene with Jack, and she's like, "My Jack would never ask me to do that."
And it kind of goes back to Chapter 1 where she's like to Josh when he's getting beat up in the further, and she's like, "You're stronger than they are. Like you're alive, they're not." Like it's kind of it kind of harkened back to that for me too. It was just different. It was Carl telling her that, and so I liked that as well. That this movie is just really good.
And still tied in.
It's still tied into the original. So I am very curious how Chapter 4 is going to be. But so far we're 3 for 3 with this franchise. So
I agree. So when I first watched this, it was a few weeks back. First time I saw it, and I've said this on the show before. I feel like sometimes the best way to experience a horror movie is with headphones. I was watching it on my phone with headphones. And I was laying in bed, like kind of holding it up and watching. And there were multiple times, probably 4 or 5 times, when I like dropped the phone because it was like such a jump scare. And it got me so good, like so many times, this movie. And so I was like pretty impressed with that. And again, there's the jump scares, but they matter. They matter in this movie as well as, like the rest of them. So, so there's that. Still the same atmosphere. The content is pretty dark with like suicide and things like that. It ends up getting pretty dark. The further it's in it, of course, but there's no time travel as far as I can remember. There's no time travel, so that's something they cleaned up from number 2, so I'm glad
they actually
happy about that.
They actually have to go back into their bodies in this one too.
They did. Yes, they had to go back to their bodies.
Yeah. So I think it was a little more clean when it comes to the further stuff than it was in the second one.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the scene where the Quinn, when she sees herself in the further, but she doesn't have a face, and like she has like half arms. Because at first you don't know who that is. You're like, what the heck is that? But then as you learn that, you know, she's being taken slowly, then you realize, oh, that's her. She's just not completely there yet. So that was cool too.
Yeah.
The emotional story with the mother, you know, coming and helping toward the end was really cool. I like the dad. You know, he played a good, like, widowed father who's trying to make ends meet with his 2 kids and, you know, trying to work and still be a dad and, you know, all that stuff. I felt like they did pretty good with that. So overall, I really liked it. The 2 dudes who were basically like kind of spoofs, you know, they were fake ghost hunters. And end up having to actually experience something real, and it was cool to learn how, you know, they got with Elise, and, you know.
It was a more straightforward. Oh, sorry.
No, more straightforward.
Straightforward story than like at least the last movie was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like all over the place. It had like one main story, and that was about it. In this movie, so
and and then the older lady that lived in the apartment complex, and how she ended up passing, but then she was
the one who led them to the book, led her to the diary.
To the diary.
And she had a connection with Quinn the whole time. And so
I thought that was cool. A negative. Oh, one more thing. There's 2 jump scares that are like super jump scares. One where she gets hit by the car.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
That was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
And the one in bed?
Yes.
The one in bed? Who was the one in bed?
When it comes and grabs her by the shoulder.
She's like flying through the air. Dad's like, you had a bad dream. Like, no, I was in the air. No, I did not have a bad dream.
Well, I thought the jump scare that got me was when the guy, the dad goes to the window because he sees that the guy jumped out the window. And he looks down and he's like, oh my gosh, he jumped. And he sees someone on the ground. And then she goes over to look, and then he's right there, right in her face. That got me. I remember pretty good.
Yeah.
But okay, so I was going to say a negative. It did feel a little teenager-y for a little bit of the movie, like the first
with her little
part of it,
flirting and
just I was like, okay, well, it's a teenager,
and then, she's a teen, and she's like finishing high school, trying to decide what she's going to do with her life, and she's. I didn't like her best friend.
Yeah,
I really didn't like her.
Right.
I liked the little romance with the brother. Boy, I think it was her best friend's brother.
I'm not sure. I think he just lived there in the complex.
I don't know, because she was there when the dad and him came over. She was there too, and they all left together. I think they were siblings.
Yeah, they could have
because then when she was texting and saying how are things going, and she was like, Harold or whatever his name was, is still asking about you and acting like he's not, and
they could have been, because he was definitely the neighbor.
Yeah,
but I don't know that we see her friend, coming out of that apartment or So I don't know, but they could be. They were there together.
But I didn't like the best friend, but I liked the neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of got a kind of creepy moment with the neighbor
Oh my gosh!
The next
knocking?
With like the knocking on the and then like texting, and he's like, "I'm not even home." Like, what do you?
Yeah,
It's like so yeah. With some of like the romance stuff, like you do get some scares out of that too. So it's
Yeah, that's why I like that part.
Yeah.
I didn't think the best friend was really necessary.
Yeah.
Her role was whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of where the teenage drama stuff, I was like, okay, this is getting a little more like teenage friendly, compared to the other movies, but it wasn't like a big part of the movie. So,
well, there weren't any teenagers in the last two movies. They're like little kids and adults.
Yeah.
The other one was very kid friendly. No.
Very family friendly.
So while yes, I like the scene with the knocking, I was thinking to myself, so she's texting like, "Oh, I could stop traffic, huh?" or whatever, and then he said maybe, and then she's doing the knocking, and then she said, "Did I wake you up, or did I wake you?" And then he says that I'm not home.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm him, I would think she's talking about texting me. Did you wake me up by texting me?
No, but he responds first. I thought there was another response before he says, "I'm not home."
Mm-mm. No. He says, "I'm not home. I'm at my grandma's," or something like that. So I thought, that fits for the scene. But he doesn't know that she's talking about knocking. He doesn't know that.
But it seemed like something that they regularly do.
Yeah, it could have been. But I would assume that you're talking about texting me. Is that what's waking me up? Yeah. So I think that could have been the dialogue there. Could have been cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah. That came to my mind when I was watching it. Yeah. And I was thinking, oh, did you wake him up from texting or did you wake him up from knocking?
Yeah.
But I guess I just excused it as, oh, this seems like a ritual that they have because she knocked the one time and then she knocked the other way and they responded.
Yeah, why would she just start knocking? Like, it seems like something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have gotten to know the demon and why. I mean, maybe we did. I just didn't catch it. Why he had the oxygen mask and stuff. Like, was there any sort of background for that, or was that just his thing?
Yeah, I don't remember a background.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things where she goes, yeah, if you try to communicate with your mom, everyone else can hear too. It just happened to be like a random demon, I guess. That answered for the mom.
Yeah, and the background that we got was that he was a resident at the hotel at the complex. That he had lived there.
Yeah.
And so he, that's why she accessed him.
Yeah.
And I think that having the oxygen mask, it made it where, it was easy to pinpoint who he was. Because then Elise was able to say, "Where's the man who can't breathe?"
Who can't breathe? Yeah. The man who can't breathe.
Yeah. And then the other, then the other background that we got was that he wasn't a demon that was trying to get back into someone's body. Yeah. He was a demon trying to bring people there.
Yeah, that was different. That was different. And it was, through suicide.
Yeah.
And so when Quinn gets possessed, that was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Too. When she's slamming her legs against the bed to get the cast off, and she's like walking and breaking her bones and like about to slit her throat. That was pretty intense.
Yeah. And the dad like having to run and get her from committing that suicide.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like these PG-13 movies, pretty heavy material.
I know. This I can't imagine how this is a PG-13.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy stuff. But there's no blood, gore. There's none of that. No sex,
swearing.
No swearing, really. so they can kind of put all their mature stuff into the plot, and and then it's released to a wider audience.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was a teenager in high school. I'd be going to every single one of these.
Yeah. Well, and then you have that teenage component where it does feel kind of teeny.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes sense because they did keep it rated for teens to be able to go. Yeah. And so,
So I think I would agree that this one I like a little more, which is, I was surprised. I didn't think I would. You know, it's Insidious Chapter 3. I don't remember hearing much about this movie when it came out. I mean, I assume it went to theaters, but I was not aware of it going to theaters. Whenever I would see it on like HBO Max or whatever the streaming platforms it would be on, I always thought, oh, that was like a straight to streaming or straight to, you know, Netflix or whatever movie.
At that time, straight to maybe DVD?
Yeah, DVD. Yeah. Straight to Redbox or, you know, whatever. But so I never watched it. And now that, you know, we're doing the series, I'm glad that we're getting into it because these are really good.
Yeah. I also thought that I was going to be alone in thinking, in having this one above.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we all do.
Yeah.
And
the time travel stuff.
It's crazy. I mean, that is definitely part of it. I don't mind time travel. I actually kind of enjoy it in some movies. But when you're talking about like horror, like when you're, I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing to include in horror movies. It's not really a horror like element normally. Especially like in your second movie of a franchise to do that. It just seems kind of weird. But yeah, so that was one of the couple reasons why I think that one's lower than this one for me. So according to audiences, like, you know, they enjoyed this, or critics rather, they enjoyed this one a lot more than the second one. So usually I'm against critics. I'm usually on like the audience side, but
so with Rotten Tomatoes, there's like the fresh and then what, rotten or something.
The rotten.
So this one's still in the
They're
rotten
both
range.
still rotten. Yeah.
I think fresh is
the
60
first
and higher,
one.
I want to say.
Yeah, the first one was fresh.
Yeah.
This one still is rotten.
Yeah. So they liked it more, but not like a lot more.
Yeah, they didn't love it.
Well, it was a lot more actually, but just not to
like 20-something%
setting.
Not to that. I've never been a fan of Rotten Tomatoes anyway, but they're
IMDb is better, I think, as long as you go into it knowing what you're looking for. You know, with horror films, you're looking like, I'll watch a horror film if it says 5. Anything 5 and up, I think, there's a good chance I'm gonna like it. If it's under 5, if it's in the 4s, there's still a 50-50 chance that I'm gonna like it. Maybe a 30,
it could be 70. So bad that it's good though too. There's that.
Because there's definitely some that are in the 4s where I'm like, dude, I really like that movie. Like, why are you putting it so low? But you just got to know what you're looking for with those websites.
Well, IMDb had Insidious 2 higher.
Yeah.
And
it was 6.2 and 6.1.
6.5.
Oh,
for 2.
For 2. Okay.
And 6.1 for this one.
Yeah. Sometimes IMDb gets it wrong too. So. So I mean, so with those types of scores though, that's an average. So the majority of the people that like the movie usually give it like an 8 or a 9, and the people who have maybe watched it not knowing what it was or don't normally like horror give it like a really low score. Yeah. So the really ones that like these movies, it does, yeah. So the ones that usually like the movies usually tend to give it like an 8 or a 9 when it's in the 6s. Yeah. So because it's the average. So that's usually where we're at with
we always
with these movies.
And I can never take these reviews seriously because you can write a review on there. And I always, for pretty much every single movie that has like a decent amount of reviews, you'll always get one that says, I made an account just to review this movie and give it a 1. Like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Is it like the same person doing this every time?
Probably.
Yeah.
You can click on the person's like the name and see all the everything,
all their
reviews, and see how many basically say the exact same thing for all of them.
And sometimes I'll see the same thing, but for a high score. So I made an account just to review this movie to,
Yeah.
And sometimes
I think that's the same in anything that you rate. Like, I mean, I see it on Yelp all the time,
Yeah. And sometimes people will review it just to, like, bring the average up or down, too. Like, they'll say, oh, I really liked it, but it's got too high of a score, so I'm going to give it a 5. Like, what? Or I liked it, but like I didn't like it, but it's too high, so I'm gonna give it a 1, just to bring the score down. Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Stop doing math. Just give it a score.
just give it what you think it deserves. Don't. Yeah.
So weird people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, do you guys have anything else to add to this one? I feel like it's a pretty awesome movie. Do you guys have any negatives you want to add in?
I can't think of negatives. I can't think of anything that really rubbed me wrong. My one negative was I didn't like her best friend. I thought she was obnoxious, and I didn't think she was necessary.
Yeah.
I was like, I really wanted to find out that she got into that college. Because even her mom was saying, like, I was there at the audition and I was so proud of you.
So sweet.
And so I really wanted to find out that she did get in. And her dad was like avoiding letting her see the letters that she got from the colleges. And so there's like the two reasons why maybe he was doing that. Either he was doing that because he didn't want her to go off to college because he needs her help, which is pretty much what she was saying and what we were seeing, because he was very dependent on her, and he didn't want to lose her because, like he said, I see your mom every day in you. And I think that was hard for him to see so much of her mom in her, but also comforting for him. But then there's the other part of, was he keeping them from her keeping the letters from her because he didn't want her to get more upset. So then it like left you wondering, did she get in? Like, so I would have liked that tied up, you know?
So with that, there is, I don't know, I haven't watched it yet, but there is a possibility we could get that because I don't know if it's a cameo, but she is in the next movie.
Okay.
The dad's not, but she is. So I don't know how much of it she's going to be in, but she is, according to IMDb, is in the next movie. So.
Okay.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
This one again left me like super excited to like see the next one, and I hope they keep making these movies. And then also like, man, I want to go back and watch the first one again. It was funny because I didn't even connect that the two ghost hunters coming were the guys, like Elise's partners. I was thinking like, man, especially the tech guy, he looked so familiar, and I was like, man, who is this guy, you know? And I was just thinking maybe he looked familiar from a different movie, not these movies. And then when it all came together, I was like, oh, these are the guys! Like, how cool! And so that was fun for me because we did, there was a long enough time in between the movies, in my world, that I was able to not realize it right away. And so then when the team came together, it was like, oh my gosh, it's these guys. And bickering, and the way it ended with them at the end, like, and she's like, "We should go into business together."
Yeah,
you guys argue too much, you know.
Like, yeah, you need to dress nicer.
Yeah,
shirt and tie.
Yeah, so that was really fun.
Yeah,
I love how these movies do that. How they add these little, what are they called, Easter eggs in there for the fans. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah. So.
And from going back to like the first Saw movie, Lee Winnell's acting has gotten a lot better.
Yes.
As Specs in this one, and of course, like, you know, he wrote and directed this movie, so of course he's going to include himself in back into. I mean, he's been a part of the franchise since the first movie, so. But yeah, his acting's gotten better, so that is.
Do you know if he's going to be in the fifth one?
I don't know. I know that he is, as far as like writing goes, he made the story. Like, the story is his, but he's not a screenwriter. I'm a little worried.
Okay.
I'm a little worried because we've talked about the screenwriter before.
Oh no, I can't remember who it is. Is it a Halloween Ends person?
It is.
No.
It's a Halloween Ends and The Exorcist. Scott Teems, his name.
Teems. Yeah, Scott Teems.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's the screenwriter for the fifth one. So,
dude, this guy.
Why does he always get the fifth
movie? And it's not the director. Well, director's Patrick Wilson. So I think it's like a first time movie for him for directing.
Yeah,
so
Josh. Yeah.
Josh himself is directing it. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know who wrote or directed the fourth one either. It wasn't Lee Winnell or James Wan. So
All right.
So we'll see with that one too.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Okay, well now I'm even more looking forward to seeing the fourth one to find out
where we go.
how it goes from here. I'm not going to look up the scores until after we see it.
Okay. So. Nice.
All right. Well, let's get into our grades. Katrina, you go first.
Okay. So I have been going back and forth with this grade because right away when this movie ended, this is the movie that made me say, you know what, I think this might be the series, like my favorite horror series, like or franchise or whatever you call it. And so this movie had me more excited even than I ended excited on the first one, but I think I'm going to put it one notch above and give
above the first and
give it a 94.
94.
Wow.
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So you like this one way more than the second movie.
Way more than the second one.
You still gave the second one.
I mean, I still gave the second a 90. Yeah.
Yeah, it was still a 90. Yeah.
But I was back and forth with, is the first and the third tied? Yeah. Am I going to give them both a 93 or am I going to put this one notch above? And I just decided I'm going to do one notch above.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool.
All right.
All right, Joel, what do you think?
So I think I'm giving this one. So I'm glad that I had kind of like I think I gave the first one a 93. And I gave the second one an 88. So I'm glad there was some room in the middle there for me to work with. Because I didn't know I was going to like this one more than the second one. So I'm going to give this one a 90. This one's a straight 90.
All right. Nice. So I'll go 92. I'm going to put it a little bit under. Did I say 93? No,
you said 9. You said 93 on the first one because we were tied.
Yeah.
And then you guys both said 88 on the second one. I don't know that you said 93.
I could have sworn it said 93 on the first one. So I know we were tied for 88.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, either way, I don't think I gave it more than a 90 the first
yes,
one.
You did give it more than... Yeah. I think you might have given it 92.
Possibly.
I don't know. We're going to have to go back and listen ourselves.
Yeah, I
know. But I know I gave it 93 for the first one. I'm going to give this one a 92. I like them probably equally, but the first one just gets that first original idea 1% point.
Yeah. I think the part that gave me an extra 1% for this one was that excitement of seeing the characters like originate, you know? Yeah. That excitement of like seeing how they became a team and seeing the relationship with her and Carl. Yeah. And I just loved
what was cool about this is it wasn't like in your face, like this is a prequel. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, 20 years earlier, you know, it wasn't clear at all that this was a prequel.
We don't even know how.
Yeah.
Like they didn't give us any years.
Yeah, you had to just figure it out as you go if you had seen the other two. But like you said, Joel, you could just watch this and not know anything about the other ones, not know that it's a prequel or anything, and still enjoy it. So it's really cool how they were able to do that. Because usually prequels, it's like, you know, they have to be like intentional about letting you know. You have to tie it into
the first one somehow.
Yeah.
And the one way that we know it's a prequel is that Elise is alive.
She's alive.
Yeah. She's a big part of it. And at first you're like, wait, Elise is alive? You know, and like, what's happening? But then also when Carl is like, remember when you helped this boy and he had the picture.
Yeah. That's right. Yep. And
he
looked younger.
Yeah. And so it's that same picture.
Yeah.
I want to know what happens. At some point I want another prequel because unless that's what 4 is, the prequel to this one, because I want to know what happened to make her not want to do this anymore.
What happened was
that's how it started.
Yeah, the lady was attached to her.
Yeah.
And because she tried to talk to her husband, her late husband, and then the lady attached to her and told her, you're going to die by my hands.
Yeah.
And she was so freaked out by that.
Right. Every time she would try to.
And every time she tried to go in, the lady would come.
Yeah.
And it was the same lady.
Right.
Who did eventually kill her.
True.
Yeah.
That's right.
Died by her hands the same way she said she would. Mm-hmm. And she did.
Yeah, she was trying to kill her.
And so it really connected why she was so shocked when she like took that picture of Josh and it was you can like just feel how much terror she must have felt then back at the first one, which is again why I'm like, I want to go watch the first one again.
With all this knowledge. Yeah. Really, really cool how they did it, and just, you know, they weren't like in your face about it. It was just, this is the story, and if you catch it, then cool. But if not, then it's still a good story.
And they were so intentional with their writing.
Yeah.
It seems like it was very planned out, very thoughtful.
Yeah.
And that just like puts it so much further above these other franchises.
Yeah.
Like Halloween.
You know, I've given this, there were 3 movies in. I don't know that I gave any Halloween movies.
I don't think you did.
In the 90s, other than the first one. I don't know if I did. So
even Halloween 5?
Yeah, Halloween 5, it should be in the 90s.
Yeah. Even that, I think you gave it like the 80s. So it wasn't it wasn't a low score. I'd say should have been, but you
know. So this franchise is really solid.
Yeah.
3 movies in. We'll see the 4th one.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes, man.
Yeah.
I'm curious now. We might be up late
franchise. This franchise so far, 3 movies in, like if you're comparing franchises to franchise, like I don't think even up to Scream 3 we've given it these movies this like highest scores.
Yeah.
Especially Scream 3. Scream 3 is probably the lowest.
Yeah. That's the thing, is by the third movie, you're starting to go downhill.
Yeah.
But not this.
Which,
this might
we'll
be
see.
The best
This might be the last one.
Yeah, we'll see. What about Saw?
Saw 1,
because I feel like the first few were pretty good.
The first
1 through 3
really
is a good trilogy. I thought that if you're ending on Saw 3, it's, to me, it was a really good trilogy of movies.
Yeah.
If you're continuing on, they messed up in Saw 3, like big time, by killing him off.
Oh,
in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they had ended it at Saw 3, then Saw 3
I think it would have been a good trilogy. Yeah.
But since they kept going, then Saw 3 kind of went downhill.
It's getting ridiculous because you've got to somehow manage to get Jigsaw or John in all these movies, because he is Saw. Like, the character is, like, who you really see the movies for, besides the killings. But like, he is the mastermind behind it all. So we're at Saw 10 now.
He's been dead for 7
He's been dead since Saw 3. At a certain point, it gets a little ridiculous.
Yeah. So, I think this one might take the cake for at least the 3 movies, the first 3 for a franchise so far that we've reviewed, at least. So,
yeah. So, if you guys have any thoughts of other franchises that could keep up with this one, let us know, because we want ideas of who to, what to do next.
I think some people would say the Evil Dead trilogy was very solid, 1 through 3. And I would agree with that, but not as good as
not anywhere near.
But a lot of people love those Evil Dead.
Yeah,
but they're just, I don't know. You can't put them in the same category as
I'm just saying that might be a response.
Yes. Well, we've already done Evil Dead, so don't bother.
Because they seem ridiculous to us now. Yeah. But back then, like maybe in 50 years, Insidious will look ridiculous. Like, that'd be a pretty crazy world when Insidious looks ridiculous. But like that's a pretty crazy world that somehow these movies could seem just very cheesy and everything. But I mean, it's a sign of the times, really. If we had seen those movies when they came out,
right?
At least the first Evil Dead movie was actually a horror movie, so that one, may have actually been scary,
right?
But because we watched them decades later, kind of ridiculous. But
all right,
still fun, but ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's it for our review on Insidious Chapter 3. Go check out the other 2 if you have not. And then we'll be doing number 4 and number 5. So stick around and check those out when they are released.
And this has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let the man who can't breathe.